folks, I'm Z Garcia, and we are here at the Origin Summer Preview 2015. I'm here with Sean Brown. Hello, sir.
Howdy.
And from Mr. B Games, as you mentioned, and we are taking a look here at a game with one of my favorite themes out there, really, post-human.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, I just love the post-apocalyptic themes, and so this just looks so good to me. So tell me a little bit about it, Sean.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm a super big fan of the genre as well,
Yeah.
and I was fortunate enough that the good folks at Mighty Box presented this to me and asked me if I could help them get it made and published, and I'm super excited for it. So how Post-Human works is, at its basic core, everybody's going to start out with a starting tile location, and you're going to put your character on it, and then everybody's going to have 4 cards in their hand, and what you're going to do is simultaneously everybody's going to take one, reveal it, that's your action for the turn.
Okay.
If everybody takes the same action, then simultaneous action, and you just all do that action, unless it's combat. But like if we're all camping or we're all foraging or scouting, then we all do the same thing. So the best way to I think, to do this would just be to run down all 4 actions, if that's okay with you guys.
Sounds good.
Okay, so the first action, let's say, would be a really strong opening move, in my opinion, would be to scout. So the idea is I'm hanging out here in the forest. I know nothing except for that there's a blue dot here, which indicates I'm in a safe house. Whenever I'm in a safe house, I don't have to feed.
Okay.
The first thing you do at the beginning of all turns is you eat, unless you're in a safe house. So first thing I do on my turn is I eat. I don't have to eat because I'm in a safe house, and then I take an action.
Got it.
So the scouting action lets me draw as many tiles as I have open routes on my map tile. In this case, I have 3. I get to draw 3 tiles. And then I get to take those tiles and put them in any configuration that I want from the connectors. Some of them only have 2, some of them have a 3-end connector, and this one also only has a 2. So I drew 2 specialty buildings. They both actually have safe houses in them, so it's kind of a lucky find for me pretty early on.
Okay.
And then I drew a forest over here that has a double location before I clear it, but it has lots of supplies. So if I'm running low on supplies, that might be a good place to go raid. So that would be how the scout action works. That would literally be someone's turn. So then you would start a new turn. At the beginning of every turn, you're going to take an event, and you're going to flip it, and it's going to be some type of a global event. So it's what's happening in the story of the game. In this particular event, this says that all the mutants are lurking, so any scars that you take this turn for mutants, you actually take double.
Okay.
Right, so going into battle this turn is going to be bad. Right, and that's usually generally a pretty good forewarning in this game that you should probably camp or heal yourself. But people headstrong, like maybe say myself, decide I want to do the move action, and I move randomly into here. On the actual tile, it tells me how many encounters I have to draw. There's one guy lurking, so I'm going to take 1 encounter. And this encounter, I'm just going to grab another one because that was a crappy encounter. Oh, there we go. So this encounter is a slammer, and he's a mutant.
Okay.
And it gives me 3 different stats for him: his speed, his health, and how much he melees. Sometimes they have a 4th stat, which would be shooting ability.
Okay.
In this case, the slammer doesn't shoot because he doesn't have a ranged weapon. So we would look at our character, and we would try to determine, depending on who you were, let's say we were playing the ex-cop who has a gun. He has a range, and you would look at his range skill, and you would see that he gets to roll 3 dice in ranged combat. So what he would do is he would expend a bullet if he wanted to shoot, and then he could take 3 of these blue dice, and he could make a roll. And on his pistol, there's an icon that says he hits with all the little 1s and the little gun scopes. So he rolled a 1, 2, 3. So he would net 1 hit, and you would go ahead and put a cube on this guy to indicate he's taken 1 wound. And with 2 wounds, he's defeated. So if I would have got a lucky shot, I could have got him before we closed the gap, but I didn't. So shooting only ever is 1 round. And you have your volley of exchange. It's supposed to simulate a firefight, and then you close the gap for melee. So melee works like this. You take the number of dice that his melee skill is. So I'll let you go ahead and roll for the slammer.
All right.
And then my cop's melee is a 4, so he gets to roll 4 melee dice.
And I got a couple shields there and whatever that is.
So the first couple things you do is any shields you roll block my hits.
Okay.
So you're blocking 2 of my hits. I only had 1 hit, but I rolled a question mark. I look at my specific weapon, and the question mark will tell me what my weapon does. That's like a critical.
Right.
What it does on my weapon is it says it counts as a hit and a damage. So I have 2 hits, and you have 2 shields. So effectively, I did not hit you.
Yeah.
Your 2 shields blocked, and you actually have the right to give me damage. And you have 1 damage is what you rolled on the dice. And then he would have any special damage. And his special damage says if he gives you a scar, you get an extra blood drop. He also tells you what these little sunbursts mean on a wild. You didn't roll any wilds. So he would just do 1 normal damage to me.
Got it.
And because he's a mutant, I have to take a scar. Because the event that started said double damage for mutants, I would take 2 scars. In this game, when you get 3 scars, you turn mutant.
Wow.
So in pretty short order, the cop could be history by having a pretty brutal encounter. That's a really harsh event to go running into the city and trying to attack on, which was why it makes it such a great scenario of don't do this.
Yeah, great. So basically we're teaching folks out there what not to do.
How not to play. Okay, so one of the things move would also allow me to do is, let's say it was the next turn and I wanted to blindly move into this area. You literally would just flip a tile and you've committed. You've got to go in there and you've got to start that adventure. And what that means is I'm going to spend 2 turns out there in that city and I better have the food to do it. Because if I don't, I'll start taking hunger and I'll start starving, and then my skills start to diminish, my morale starts to diminish, all kinds of things like that. So once we were done with this, we would repeat that combat round, and once I clear the area, if the area actually had supplies, I would draw a supply card, and then I would look at the terrain type and it would tell me what I found. Maybe some bullets, maybe some weapons, maybe some equipment. In this case, it didn't. There were no supplies there. It was just a village. I had to go, I had to fight an encounter, nothing happened. So that's how move works. Move is going to generally initiate your combat, and it's going to also double as scouting. Camping action's pretty simple. You just hunker down for the turn, you get a health back, and you're good to go. If you camp with other people, you can trade. If you camp on a location with other people, you can trade. Okay. So it's a good way to, I've got a lot of bullets but no food. Maybe somebody's got a lot of food and no bullets. We can do a swap. Or maybe I've got some extra battle armor I found. It's a good way to kind of trade with your friends.
So it's a little bit cooperative, but the game itself is not really cooperative, right?
Right. So the idea, the premise is there is a fortress that all the surviving humans are hanging out in, and we're all trying to get there, and we hear that, first guy to get there is going to get accepted, and the rest of them are going to get turned away.
Got it.
And so it's kind of a race to get there, but you do need some help, because if everybody starts mutating behind you, their one goal becomes to stop everyone from getting to the fortress. So you got to be nice, but not too nice. So not true co-op, but some undertones.
How long is the game?
So this one runs between 30 and 45 minutes per player.
Okay.
So the more people you have, the more scale up, the longer it's going to take, because you're going to have more encounters and whatnot. And Gordon Clay, the designer, has done a brilliant job of working on really cool solo rules and 2-player rules. Because a lot of people say, well, what do you do in a solo game? Well, the idea is what he does is he puts an artificial timer in there. You have X amount of turns to get to the fortress. If you don't make it, you lose. Right? So I really love how just through some simple rules things, he's really made the game much more fun for 2 or 1 as it is with a big group.
Gotcha. Now, you've had a Kickstarter for this already.
We have.
It's done, it funded quite well, actually.
Thank you.
And
to our surprise.
And so, what kind of time frame are you looking at for it to actually hit the street?
We're looking for an Essen release. We're looking to deliver it to all the backers in October and debut it at Essen, and then try to get it into retail stores hopefully in November, maybe December if things go a little slow. But the goal would be Essen release with a late October, early November retail release.
Okay, sounds good. So there it is, Post-Human. Really cool theme. Thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you, sir.
For chatting.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com.